I am thrilled to welcome to the show today Hilary Crowley. Hilary is a foster to adopt mom. She's a holistic practitioner at a family medical practice, an award winning author of a book on healing, and she recently presented a TEDx talk called Your Fairy Tales Are Hurting Our Foster Kids: The Unexpected Education of a Foster Mom. She lives in New Hampshire with her husband and their two sons, now in their early 20s. Hilary, welcome.
Thank you so much, Rachel. And thank you so much for this whole podcast. When I was going through this process, I was always looking for support. And it was 11 years ago. And I was thinking about how, while I'm listening to you and all the stories that you're sharing, how it's really like a support group you can take along with you. And I think
Yeah.
if there's any phase of your life where you need support, it's when you're in the foster process. So thank you for
Isn't
having me
that
here.
true? Thank you. Thank you for saying that. That is absolutely was an intention of mine. Because when I was going through it, I didn't feel that at all. Like I didn't even know anyone else who was doing it at the time. And I had friends, but friends that, they can be supportive to a point, but if you haven't experienced it, it's just, there's nothing quite like it. So, did you have support like within the community? Like, did you know other people who were going through it when you were going through it?
Yeah, that's actually kind of a fun origin story for
Mm-hmm.
me. I'll just jump right in. So I was a mom. I gave birth to a child at age 35.
Mm-hmm.
And right soon afterwards, I had that kind of, you know, warm love for being a mom and wanting more. I think that's a nice way of putting it, like just wanting to
Mm-hmm.
more. And I didn't sort of like naturally get pregnant with any kind of ease, and I hadn't fully wrapped my head around what to do next. The clock was ticking, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
And I was the class mom in first grade. So now my child's in first grade, and I'm thinking about, boy, oh boy, like still thinking about where is this other child? And my friend, who is a mom who lives on a campus of a well-known prep school. It's like a very storied prep school called Phillips Exeter Academy in New Hampshire.
Oh,
Uh,
sure. Yeah, I know that.
yeah, it's
Mm-hmm.
it's it's very storied. It's where the book The Separate Piece was written. So she has like the ideal situation as a foster mom, because you have security, you have housing, and you have
Mm.
3 meals a day. It's like, and not to mention she had biological children, and she showed up with a child on her hip. And I said, "Who is this, my friend?" And she said, "I'm a foster mom." And I said, "Oh, well, sure. If you want me to take her off your hands, I'd be more than happy." Like, ridiculous, funny conversation while we're, serving chips to the kids, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Just a fun thing. But it turned into the most serious conversation of my life,
Mm.
because she said there's a real need for foster parents. And all you need to do is take these couple of steps, and I'll be with you every step of the way. She said, my husband and I, we're very committed to this process. And no, you can't have her. She's mine. She's one of ours. So she was able to go from foster to adopt as well. And through that introduction, I immediately started to go to the support groups, even before the parenting classes, even before
Oh,
anything, just
wow.
showing. Yes, this was a big tip, and I give this to other people. Just, they will welcome you into the support groups, and then you get to know the lingo, Rachel. Like the link, like you're feeling that.
Oh my God. I mean, that's like a brilliant tip. This is season 3 and no one has said that yet. What a great piece of intel. Thank you.
So there's more to it. So not only do you know the lingo, but the resource and placement officers start to know you, because they're
Mm.
on the front line seeing the children that need placement, need homes,
Mm-hmm.
and they get to know my personality, my level of interest.
Mm.
They get to know some things that were like probably just meaningful for them, not necessarily helpful or not, such as I go to the support groups regularly and my husband stays home.
Mm-hmm.
So he knows how many kids we have, all the things. So
Let me
Yes,
ask you a question about that. So
sure.
was the support group, it was the agency, the where you were going to get certified was giving it, or where was the support group? Because I'm just
Excellent
thinking about,
question.
yeah.
It was sponsored by the state, my state of New
Okay.
Hampshire, in my
Okay.
case. So it would be straight to the state. The state resource workers would have a support group for this the state. Um, we here in New Hampshire, the state can do direct placements, and they do direct placements.
Yes. Okay. That is so interesting. Thank you for sharing that. I'm sorry to
So
interrupt.
so
Keep
my
going.
agency was DHHS, baby.
Mm-hmm. 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 Mm-hmm.
Just straight to the Department of Health and Children, and DCYF,
Yes.
it's called up here. DCYF.
Yes. Yes. It was in LA, it was DCFS.
Yeah, just to confuse us, as if,
Yes.
we need more.
Yeah. Okay, so you started going to those support groups right away before you did it,
Yes.
and then what? What did that give you?
Well, that certainly gave me language. It was important for me. I spoke up and I said, you guys are using a lot of shorthand and I don't understand what you're talking about.
Mhm.
And then from that, I started to understand the language. And because I understood the language, I had the roadmap. And then the next step on the roadmap, of course, is to take the parenting class.
Mhm.
And for everybody listening, I, I don't even know what stage of parenting you're at, but I feel like we should all take parenting classes just
Oh
for our
God,
own
yes.
personal development. Like I got
Yep.
to understand my own childhood development by taking
Yeah.
a parenting class. Like,
Yeah, that's a
um,
good point.
and there's no charge to it.
Mhm.
And so what is it? About 8 weeks, you dedicate yourself, you make sure you're available, you turn
Yep.
it into date night if you have a partner, or you go, there are a lot of people going solo, right? Because that's
Yep.
fine too. It's good.
Sure.
Um, and I think about 3 weeks into the parenting class, and for some reason it also was like an executive function test for us as well, because it was always a different location on every week. I don't know if you experienced that. So I was like, are
Ours
they
was in
testing
the
her?
same place, but that's funny.
Yeah, so I was like, fair, it's a fair test my executive function, I got it. So we found our way, and I remember I was sitting in this particular room, and it was a lot of people were in it, in an old building, and I had that moment that I had gone down the wrong path, that
Mm.
this was too much, too far.
Mhm.
But good for me, I raised my hand like a good student and I commented rather than quitting.
Mm.
Um, and I said, I don't think I can do this. I'm listening to these conversations about reunification and having an extra sweatshirt available if the biological mom shows up and she doesn't have enough attire on the upper part of her body, to support her, to make sure that she gets to have, you don't turn her away. This sounds silly, but just imagine that somebody might show up in a bikini top, but they're going and they're not going to pass state regulation. They're just talking about nice ways that we can support the biological mom and dad for the reunification process. And then there were details about, like, if you feel like you're in danger. And so that's when my hackles started going up. And
Mhm.
here's how you can de-escalate the situation at your front door or at the meetup place and all that
Mhm.
stuff. So my
Mhm.
hackles are going up, my nerves are going up, my fears are being activated. And I raised my hand and I said, I am so sorry. I'm going to ask this question because I don't want to walk out.
Mhm.
And I'm sure other people are thinking it. I don't think I can do this, because if anybody came to remove my child or put me in a situation of visitation of my child and put any restrictions on my child, my existing child right now, you would have to put bars on the window. And I'm coming to get my child no matter
Mhm.
what. And I don't want to be on the wrong side of that. Can you
Wow.
imagine that question?
Wow, that takes a lot of courage to raise your hand and say something like that in that venue.
Courage and impulsivity, right? I'm just in a very playful mood today, because the other side of that was the most beautiful answer you could ever get.
Mm.
And it was so compassionate to the foster world as well as the biological parents. And she said, you are feeling all these feelings because you're in a healthy place right now, Hilary.
Nice.
She said, because you are healthy, you are able to connect your attachment already, even abstractly, to the child we haven't even placed with you yet. The only reason that these connections would be broken would be, with all compassion, it would be because maybe there's a substance misuse involved. There's a history of abuse in these parents' lives,
Hmm.
and or there's a resulting mental illness that needs more attention and care.
Hmm.
And I sat back down and I was down for the ride, because she said, your response is a healthy response. And my
Wow.
fear was subsided, and I was able to put it back into my heart and move forward from there. And to be clear, my husband was sitting to the left of me, and he wasn't going anywhere. He wasn't
Mm-hmm.
going anywhere. If I walked, he would have walked with me. And if I stayed, he was going to stay with me. So it was really beautiful.
That is that's really fascinating. Giving you permission to be where you were and to normalize that and say, hey, this is a normal response. And I think that's so important to just highlight because what we're doing, what we're asked to do as foster parents is really really difficult. It's just a difficult spot to be in. Obviously for the biological parents, that's a whole nother story, a horrible situation for them to be in. But I appreciate that the being honest piece, like that you were able to just say where you were in the moment, and by you know raising your hand and saying that out loud instead of waiting until you were in the car on the drive home or whatever, you gave everyone in that room the permission to feel their feelings as well and to think about that and also to get that beautiful response because they were probably all feeling the same thing.
Possibly. And the social worker, it gave her a chance to shine because she was ready for it. She had such a
Yes.
beautiful answer.
Yeah, that is incredible. That's really beautiful. I love that. So
Mm.
let's talk about you and your husband for a moment. So was your husband, you said that he would do whatever you wanted to. So were you essentially driving the ship with this pursuit of doing fostering? Was it what was his like take on the whole thing?
Well, his take on the whole thing goes back to before we even conceived the first child, which
Okay.
was, he's very content in his situation, right?
Uh-huh.
And I said, well, I'm just paying attention that one of the biggest decisions, and I want your listeners to hear this, one of the biggest decisions, respectfully, that people make in their life is the decision to not have a child. I
Mhm.
think it's brave, it's conscious,
Yep.
and um, that sometimes that's a decision to not have a child.
Yes, absolutely.
Um, and it's a big decision, and I have a lot of respect for that decision.
Mhm.
So he was okay with that decision to not have a child,
Okay.
and then I just thought it would be fun and interesting, and I was curious, and um, without a lot of effort, we stopped birth control, and I was able to be pregnant very easily. And I say that because that was the only time I easily got pregnant. And
Mhm.
so that was 34. So now he's in love with the baby. He's all in dad, very
Mhm.
present with the baby.
Okay. Yep.
And he's all in dad, ride him in on the bike, and just a great, really just great dad.
Mhm.
And so imagine a great dad. He's like, what do you mean you need another? We want another. We're going to do another,
Right.
And
Yes.
so,
Yep.
um, and I let him know, I said, this is just pulling on my heart every day.
Mhm.
It's something that you either, what is that expression? If you know, you know. It's like,
Mhm.
if you know, you get that pull. I
Mhm.
don't think he had the hankering or the pull for a second, but he saw that I did.
Yeah.
And for reasons that are actually not very complicated at all, I was comfortable. I think I was more comfortable with the idea of pursuing adoption than I
Mhm.
was with pursuing fertility treatment.
Mm. Interesting.
It was just very, I mean, I work in healthcare. I know a lot of people who have had beautiful success and miracle stories with fertility, but it just did not interest me at all.
Mhm.
I felt that pull, like you've talked about, of like, I sense there's somebody out there and I think I know where to find them. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know how, but I'll just keep following the breadcrumbs to
Yeah.
use a fairy tale metaphor.
Yep. Yep.
And then lo and behold, that just brings me to that, beautiful moment, at the as a class mom in first grade and meeting this other woman, and she
Yeah.
invites me to the support group. That's
Yep.
that's my story. And of course, my husband wanted to be at the parenting classes, and that
Mm-hmm.
really does indoctrinate you. It gets you excited. It's hard, but in a good way. It's kind of
Mm-hmm.
masterful what they do.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and there's no way he would want to be involved without that. And
Yeah.
then he got very involved when it came down to the placement and the fit, because our children are almost twins. They're only 5 months apart.
Okay.
So
Wow.
my
And that was
line,
intentional?
not by me, but the state was studying us. They
Oh.
were studying, they were literally studying me and studying how involved my husband was with his son and what he likes
Oh.
to do and what his interest was. And we had a 9-year-old. So my
Mm-hmm.
my line is, we loved our 9-year-old so much that we decided to get another one. But from the state point of view, they had a child who was 9 years old, and 9 years old is the cutoff point to be placed in a home. I don't know if that's the case in other states, but
Mm-hmm.
9 or 10 years old is the cutoff, and other than that, they go to a group home or
Mm.
residency program.
Mm-hmm.
And they just we were in the right place, literally in the right county, right
Mm-hmm.
time. We were a good fit, and we'd had a couple of placements offered to us, Rachel, but they were not good fits. You know how that goes. You get the phone
I
call.
do. Yes, absolutely. And that's something worth mentioning as well. For people who don't know my story, I said no 5 times before I said yes. And there's personal reasons for that that I don't want to go into right now. But just the uh, just to let the listeners know that like you don't have to automatically say yes to the first placement. It has to be right for you and your family. So,
And can I add to that?
yeah,
Um,
please do.
there's actually like a beautiful community around that, because we have the heart of a mother, and so we can feel, rather than saying this child isn't right for us at the time, I
Mhm.
we listen to our heart. I know you speak about that.
Mhm.
I'm not sure that, in the spirit of the beautiful work that we're doing, we're not actually connecting with that baby for a moment and saying, no, I can feel there's a better place for you.
Oh my God, yes, 100%. That's it's. I'm so glad you mentioned that, and of course you did because of the other work that you do, which is something I want to get into a little bit later. But yes, 100%. It wasn't that decision that I made wasn't made from like a it doesn't fit on paper. It was like
No.
no, it's not the right match.
I
Um.
had it. I had an interesting case of one of the phone calls I got, and I felt like I was literally just part of the team,
Mhm.
because I got a phone call, and I'm just going to keep it really neutral to keep it as confidential as possible. But I got a phone call, and there was a child under the age of 6 years old who had been brought up in a home, but it wasn't a foster home, but it wasn't a biological home either.
Mhm.
The family went to court and said, we need to actually bring this child into the system because it's time for the child to go to school. And we want to officially become their parents. And they brought that right to family court, or whatever court it is
Uh
they brought
huh.
it
Uh
to.
huh. Uh
And the
huh.
particular judge said, this entire situation is illegal. We're calling DCYF, and we're removing the child immediately. And we're placing the child in a legal foster home. And then my husband and I were the ones that got the phone call on that.
Oh wow.
And so I was able to receive all that history.
Uh huh.
And there was definitely a part of me that's like, really? Oh, good. Like, I don't know what,
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
every child out there, anyone who's listening, who's ever been through the foster system, just know that there's a bunch of us that are like, sure, I will love you
Yes.
forever and whatever you need. But in the second beat of that was whatever you need. That seemed like a huge disruption that I didn't want to participate in, a
Yes.
bureaucratic disruption. And I got to be a helper, because
Mhm.
I said, I told them why I said no. I said, this
Mhm.
sounds more traumatic for the child to be
Mhm.
removed,
Mhm.
unless you know better, because they will know better.
Mhm.
And I said, that wasn't that hard to get the foster certificate. I mean, to be fair, it was like a few classes and a blah, blah, blah. Like, can you put that family on the foster track? She
Yes.
called me back about 2 weeks later and she said, that was great advice. And it didn't cross my mind because they're busy. The social workers are
Right.
busy. And
Yes.
she said, I got the state to just issue them a certificate. We did a home study, they passed, and everything was back to normal. So, no can be the best thing you can say for a child.
Yes. That's really, really beautiful. Again, having the whatever it is to speak up. You could have just said no and left it at that, but speaking up, you were a helper in that situation, and that's a beautiful thing. Yeah. It's like just being present and being able to be connected and just speak up is like really important sometimes. A lot
I
of
love
time.
that. That's a really
Yeah.
good observation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I guess that's a pattern with me.
um so let's see. So let me ask you this. Did you discuss this with your 9-year-old son before it happened and during it, and what was that like for him? Was he excited, interested, freaked out? Like, how did he feel about it? Your
He was
biological son.
excited, interested. Um, he knew enough, similar to if you would tell a child that you're pregnant. I guess I never had that situation, but similar
Mhm.
as you would tell a child you're pregnant, like, you can't control this outcome, but I just want to let you know
Right.
we're kind of pregnant with a 9-year-old right now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Another 9-year-old.
Mhm.
Um, and so he had fair warning. He knew what his name was, which was kind of fun. And um, and then we got placement of him. So now we had two boys in the house. And I think the best way to answer your question, Rachel, is to tell you what happened at support group a week after our child was placed with us.
Okay.
So I walked in and they said, how's it going? And I said, it's very, very chaotic. I've never seen him this angry. There's a lot of
Your biological son angry?
but they thought I was talking. They thought
Oh,
I was
okay,
talking
sorry.
about the
I'm ruining the story. Go ahead.
world alert. But let's. I think that's fair to the listeners too. So I walked in and they're asking me about their kid, our kid, the kid from the state,
Yes.
right?
Gotcha.
And I'm
Yep.
like, I've never seen him this angry. He's having trouble sleeping. I can't get him to go to school. And they're like, well, how's your biological son doing? I'm like, that is my biological son. So it was really disruptive for him.
Yeah.
And I probably would have done it better another time, but in the same respect, I wouldn't change a thing
Mhm.
because it was pointed out to me that disruption and that heartbreak opening,
Mhm.
um, yes, sure, live and learn, but it was very, very good for his development.
Mhm.
And his compassion was opening wide open. And he was an only child at the time.
Yeah.
And so he was learning how to share.
Yeah.
And now that they're both adults with really good hearts, I wouldn't say to foster because you want to give your child good, compassionate development or the rest of your family, but it does come as a side benefit,
Mhm.
which is you learn an awful lot and you become very savvy to the needs of others.
Mhm. Did they share a room initially, or were they in separate rooms?
They were in separate rooms, and that was a good thing.
Yeah. I can
Yeah.
imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were lucky for that.
How long did it take for your biological son to sort of be able to metabolize the situation and get back to some kind of um, normal, for lack of a better
Yeah.
terminology?
No, I think normal is a good word because it will never be like I've talked to parents because I was commiserating with parents and they were like, my son's never forgiven me for giving birth to his little brother.
Mm.
I mean, so
Mhm. Yep.
I'm one of four. Like, I'm sure my older sister is like, I'm still trying to figure out where the rest of you came from.
Yep.
Um, so there's that sibling piece.
Yep.
But I think that it was incremental. There was incrementals, and every incremental was when there was a disruption in the routine, and that created connection and togetherness. That if he came to us in the summer, where he was placed as a foster child, that winter, that February up here in New England was brutal, and I think we had
Mhm.
like 3 weeks off, and there was just a lot of fun with that,
Mhm.
and that I could feel the bonding.
Mm.
Things were pretty solid, but at 9 turns into 10, and 10 turns into 11, and
Mhm.
11 turns into 12. We're in middle school. So I only had like a moment before middle school, which
Mhm.
was super duper hard.
Yeah.
Um, Friend groups weren't the same.
Mhm.
Responses to stimuli, responses to puberty weren't the same. And then we got the pandemic.
Yeah.
Happened freshman year for these kids.
Mhm.
And that was not good in many, many ways. But it was very, very valuable for the attachment process because we
Sure.
got to bring everybody back home. And
Yeah.
that's when I felt like they're solid. I don't see them being best friends yet, but I
Mhm.
wouldn't wish that for them. And I've seen them have each other's back, and they both have excellent hearts, like really good hearts. And they would agree with
Mm.
that on about each other as well. So
Mhm.
as a
Mhm.
mom, what more can I ask for?
Yeah, absolutely. That's wonderful. Yeah.
So the answer is it took about 3 months, 3 years, and 11 years, and it's still going. But it's a journey. It's a
It's
journey.
a
Yeah.
good answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a good answer. What were some of the behaviors that you were dealing with your newly welcomed into the home son, your foster son, at the beginning? Because 9 is an interesting age. My daughter is 9 right now, and she is certainly starting the puberty process, which lo and behold, it starts now, guys. Like, wow, it starts earlier now than it used to. And so emotions, and maybe it's different for boys, but certainly she is going through just little changes and big changes. What was it like for him?
Well, when I say I got him at 9, it
Mm-hmm.
means he didn't have stability until he was 9.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And so it's a shock to come into a family with routine and holidays and expectations.
Mm-hmm.
I was the very first person he ever called mom.
Wow.
Um, and the social workers will tell you that when your child has been put under that much trauma and separation, you can cut their age in half.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
he was 9, going on 45 years old, but also
Right.
going on 6 years old.
Yeah.
And I say that again with a very, very protective heart as a mom, because I
Sure.
saw his soul, and he's such a, oh my goodness. But his body was doing a great job, not going to miss any stages of development now that he had time to relax.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest um, feature of his behavior that I have yet to meet anybody to have experienced this is what is called the shutdowns. I don't know if you have anyone in your audience who has experienced the shutdowns. It's a also called rock brain. And
Okay.
what happens is that the child with very little stimuli will go into a place where they become non-responsive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Did you have other guests on your show talk about that?
It's funny, no, I've never had anyone talk about that so far. However, I have seen glimpses of that with my daughter who is, autistic and ADHD, and she will go into a place sometimes where it's just there's too much, and she just shuts down like that, and so I think I have a sense of what you're talking about, but I'm interested. Please continue.
Well, I was frustrated because even the social workers just saw it as like a hypothetical or like an expression, but you're actually with a child that you cannot move, you cannot get a response from.
Mm.
and their eyes are open, but they're like really, really, really checked out. And of
Mhm.
course, nobody likes to be scared by a child. Like there's a reason why some of the horror movies are like the scary child,
Right,
because
yeah.
it's one thing to have an adult that's scary, but when a child is just like not there,
Mhm.
that's we have like a primal response to that. Um, that was we had to find our own therapy for that, meaning
Mhm.
like our home had to just be like a therapeutic home for that, to continue to create a safe space, um, and also not adapt to the shutdown, which could have been
Mm.
controversial, Rachel. I don't even know, but I wasn't
Mhm.
going to adapt to it. One of my moments, and this is all in the first year. It was really
Mhm.
acute in the first year, and then everything
Yeah.
does normalize.
Yep.
But the I was able to figure out what the trigger is, and I don't use that lightly. You know how we can say, "Oh, this is triggering." No, the
Yes.
actual
Yep.
trigger.
Yep.
The very first trigger was walking into a restaurant, and he had too many choices on the board in front of him. So it could
Mhm.
have been like too much joy, too much stimulation, too
Mhm.
much safety, and he shut down.
Mhm.
And my husband was there. I heard about it secondhand. My husband was there, and my husband reported embarrassment, confusion on the part of the adult.
Sure.
He's
Yeah.
like, what do I do with him?
Yeah.
He's not behaving in public.
Right.
And I can't cue him to like, let's just leave or just order something. So there's nothing you can do about that for us. We didn't know what to
Okay.
do.
So he
Um,
would just be legitimately like he's just frozen and he can't
Frozen.
do anything. He
Can't
can't
do
talk. He
anything.
can't.
Can't do
Okay.
anything. And
Okay.
the only thing that needed to change, and I'm speaking for myself, not for my husband, because I think my husband was more like curious, embarrassed. I would get infuriated
Mhm.
because it was scared. I wasn't that sophisticated. So scared, not safe, angry, all were in the same pocket, right? I had
Mm.
so much to learn. I had so much to learn.
Mhm.
And it wasn't long until he had a shutdown when it was time to go. This is around mealtime, by the way. It was time for us to go to a friend's house for dinner. I didn't think it through because he was local. And in order to get to the friend's house for dinner, which was happy for me, oh, good, I get to be with other kids. We get to be with
Mhm.
our friends.
Mhm.
This is going to be a lovely evening. I don't have to cook the whole thing.
Right. I
He
gotcha.
Yeah, he wasn't leaving his room. He was in a full shutdown in his room.
Mhm. Mhm.
And the words my husband said were, "Why don't you stay here, or I'll stay here and you go to the dinner party with our other son." And I was like, I felt that splitting of our family. And even
Mhm.
though it was a very superficial example, I was like, no way, I'm not doing this. So I went up and I just sat with him, and
Mhm.
I kind of wrapped myself around him. Um, Keep in mind, he's 9 and
Yeah.
I'm 5'4". So he's probably 4'9", 4'10". Like
Mhm.
I don't have a baby that I can just grab,
Right.
or even a
Yeah.
toddler.
Yep.
Even though there's parts, or even a 5-year-old, I couldn't. So I just kind of wrapped myself around him, which was one part comforting, but another part like alpha mama kind of thing.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And I said, I know you're angry right now. And he's kind of pushing me off. And I said, but my love is bigger than your anger. And I said, and I was probably talking to myself too, so that
Mhm.
the two of us could kind of bond a little bit and be like, let's make love bigger than our anger.
Mm.
And somehow, miraculously, he clicked out of it, and he got into the car, and I got into the front seat right where mom's supposed to sit.
Mhm.
We turned on music, and I turned to the whole family. I said, I'm never going to do that again. I promise. I'm never going to do that again. That was a lot, because it was like really mama bear hug.
Uh-huh.
But we never had to do it again. And
Wow.
the next time the shutdowns came in, I could just be like, I know you're going through something, but remember, my love is bigger than your anger. We're going to get through this. And then slowly they faded away.
Mhm.
And I'm saying that with a little lilt in my voice, because I'm remembering a really good tip I got,
Okay.
which was, hey, Hillary, we're sorry you don't like the shutdowns. We're not there. all the time for you. Um, but you need to parent as if these shutdowns are never going to go away. So you have to accept the child for what they have and how they're going to show up for
Mm-hmm.
the rest of their life like this.
Mm.
And those two kind of competing thoughts
Mm-hmm.
merged into being a very healing message,
Hmm.
which is behave as if this might be the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I was very hopeful that some of this was fear that would leave as he felt more and more safe.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, I was correct
Mm-hmm.
on the ladder. Is it called the ladder? Yeah, I was
Yep.
correct on the so forth. But I really thought that that was so professional and such sound advice to say, don't try to change and don't try to fix.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that balance beam walk along the way.
Was that your support group that gave you that advice? Who gave you that advice?
You're right on the money, because the head of the support group was the social worker who was also the resource worker.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, she'd be at support group, and she ran the show, and it was such a good, beautiful community. But she would also be the one who would take the phone call.
Wow.
So yeah, yeah, and like a really nice little community up here. So I have a feeling she said it to me in support group.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I love, just as a sidebar, I love hearing that you had such a wonderful relationship with the people at the county, because I find that oftentimes I hear a lot of struggles with the county, and everyone's always go through an agency, don't. And even I've said that you get more support, more help if you go through an agency than if you go directly through the county. So I think it's fantastic that they had these resources for you and that they were right there for you, and the continuity of the same person who would take the phone calls is actually the one running the support group. So she knew you already, and that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I think you got to give everybody a chance. I think that the secret sauce in this particular case was a very, very good sense of humor. She had an incredibly good
Mm.
sense of humor.
Mm-hmm.
She was a foster mom herself. I
Mm.
had a
That
couple of
helps.
other, and there's a huge turnover, right? So you don't know who you're going to get. But I think the real secret sauce was building a relationship by going to those support groups. If there's a support group in
Yes.
your area, whether it's through your agency or through your state or both, and I know you can say, I don't have time, but it's the best use of time, because if there's ever anything you do in your life that it has to do that's all about relationships,
Mm-hmm.
this would be it.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they're controversial to other people, but I was all about relationships. And as time goes on, I speak more and more highly of them, because um, to go back, I didn't love that she said, just accept that he's going to be this way. I didn't love
Mhm.
that at all,
Right. Yep.
but I,
Yep.
I don't know. I like to learn. So I was like, she was a good teacher. That, like, ouch and yeah, that's interesting at the same time, like, good
Uh-huh.
for you. You're good for you. You're like, you're speaking truth to me. I like it when people speak truth.
Yes. You mentioned something about you didn't want to adapt to that behavior. What did you mean by that? Am I using that correctly? Is that what you said?
I think so. I mean, first of all, this is a great interview because I'm getting to talk about things I didn't get to talk about at the time, right?
Yes.
Um, so, yeah, I didn't want my scared, angry child to, like, have a mother who was responding to tiptoeing around him to make sure he's not scared and angry.
Mhm.
There could be some other special needs going on, but anger, last I checked, might be a side effect of a special need, but I don't think I need to adapt to that until we figure out where this anger is coming from. And I think the anger truly had to do with just the adjustment, the attachment, the trust,
Sure.
the abandonment issues. So
Mhm.
tiptoeing and not treating him like he's my son, I think, is another form of abandonment. So I was like, buddy, nice to meet you. I'm your mom. Let's go. And we still had to do the whole parental rights. I don't know if I was his forever mom,
Right.
but I was his mom in that moment, and I
Yes.
wanted him to know what that felt like.
Mhm. Mhm. That's really interesting. How long did it take for you to adopt?
New Hampshire, I don't know what the system does right now, but New Hampshire only gives the biological family 1 year to reunify.
Wow, really?
One 1 year once the process starts.
Oh, that's even if the parental rights have not been terminated, or you're just saying
One
they
year to get to
terminate.
Yes,
Okay,
they either reunify
wow.
or they terminate. And I'm no
Interesting.
lawyer, I'm no specialist in this, but
Yeah.
the 1 year is noteworthy because I believe Massachusetts is 5 years. Right south of us, Massachusetts is 5 years, and I can only imagine what a different dance that is.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean, we were in California and I didn't even that wasn't even like a thing. There was no time limit
yeah,
like that I was aware of.
yeah,
It's like until the court finds that this isn't
yeah,
happening, you know?
and I want to be really careful because I don't want to like cheerlead the fact that it's only a year,
Right.
because
That actually seems to me kind of like, wow, that's not really like a long time. I wonder if it's still like that.
I don't know, but it was great for our particular family because both of the biological parents were in the process of terminating their rights before he came to us.
Mm.
So I guess by great, I mean like both of the biological parents were happy that they had found a home
Mhm.
for him.
Mhm.
And I know happy is a strong word, but it did seem like they were satisfied, that they
Relieved
felt like
or
they had some sovereignty or regency, is that the word, over the decision making
uh-huh.
process.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I was happy that they were happy. I also had this incredible experience having adopted or taken custody of an older child.
Mhm.
So you would think that once you get custody of a child, that everything I said, I'm all in, I'm mom, dad's dad, you're part of our family, and so
Mhm.
forth. I found this incredible I observed this incredible thing that happens. So you get a whole child. They're way over 5 years old. Okay, 5 years old is that, when a lot of development happens, like he's
Mhm.
way past that. He's 9 years old. He's got a beautiful heart. He's been through a lot, and he deserves to feel safe.
Mhm.
So I'm happy to provide him safety. But I noticed that I wasn't like bonding onto him in like the first 3 days was safety. And then on the fourth day, and I call this, I've never shared this before, but I call this kind of like almost like the universal taboo, which
Mhm.
is this strange. And if you don't know what it is, you might even feel like you have an aversion to the child.
Mhm.
But I think it's a universal taboo against kidnapping a child. I know that sounds so weird, but this is the space to say this stuff,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So it was like on the fourth or fifth day, I felt this sense of like, where are your parents?
Mhm.
Where are the people that brought you into this world? Are you missing them? Because I care about you so much in these first 3 days that I would do anything to get you back to them
Mm.
if it's safe.
Mhm.
And then you get this information dance that comes in. It's like, it's not safe, it's confusing, kind of going back to what the woman had said to me when I raised my hand, like, well, they're going through their own stuff. So
Mhm.
I wasn't giving him back in any sense. This was all going on between my head and my heart.
Uh-huh. Yep.
And so once I got over that hurdle, I was
Mhm.
like, that's interesting. That was like a human response, like a very human response to being like, this might be why healthy people don't kidnap children, because
Mm.
you're like, you belong someplace else.
Mhm.
And then you get over that hurdle because it's an adult, not an adult child, but a growing child. You get over that hurdle, and then you're like, oh, you need me
Mhm.
because you don't have anybody claiming you, and you don't have anybody to run to.
Mhm.
So game on, buddy. Let's do
Mhm.
family. Let's do family really,
Mm.
really well. So
Mhm.
that's how it
Mhm.
all began. After that, once you get over that hurdle and you start bonding.
Mhm. And did you keep in touch with, like, were there visitations and all of that kind of thing? Did you develop a relationship with his biological parents?
Um, his relationship with his biological mom is just beginning right now.
Okay.
She knew how to reach me, And I actually say this with love, and I always tear up a little bit, that whatever she was going through, um, she knew where he was, and she never disrupted or interrupted or reached out.
Mhm.
I don't know why, but I felt respectfully the same way. Like we just knew we had this window of time, this decade until he was going to be 18.
Mhm.
So he's past well past 18, and around age 18 he was able to reach out and find her. They've met, and they have what I think is just like a lovely kind of relationship that's going to move into an adult relationship. So I wouldn't
Mhm.
even recognize mom if we passed each other on the street. We've never
Mhm.
met. Isn't that interesting?
Mhm. Mhm.
The story of biological dad, which was the one who was local, the father who was local,
Mhm.
who took custody of him when he was taken away from his mom at age 3. Um, that dad had a very tumultuous relationship with his family that led to the removal of the child into state custody.
Okay.
And that dance went on, I don't want to overstate or understate, but let's just say it was about 5 years for the
Mhm.
child did not know where the child was going to be living or staying.
Sure, yeah.
Our son now.
Yes.
Um, then he signed over parental rights, and I remember that he was kind, and he knew we did some visitation and so forth, but
Mhm.
he was kind of unreliable in the parental rights. But never thought it was. I can't even think of the word for it, but it did never feel like he meant to do harm.
Uh-huh.
He's
Uh-huh.
also our age, so it wasn't like
Mhm.
it was a young kid.
Right.
It was somebody who was the same age as we were. We were older parents,
Mhm.
so he was an older parent as well. Um, and I speak in the past tense because what happened was a year after we officially adopted our son, exactly a year after,
Mhm.
this gentleman, the biological dad,
Mhm.
won a scratch ticket, and he won $4 million.
What? Oh my god, that's nuts.
Plot twist.
That is nuts.
He
How
won
did you even know that? Like, how did you
because
know that?
first of all, it's public information, and secondly, his a family member from the biological side called to let me know because it was just such juicy information,
Ah,
you know.
that is. Wow.
Yeah. So similar to what I just talked about in terms of those first 3 days, my first 30 seconds were, is he going to come and take my child away?
Mm.
Now he has $4 million.
Mhm.
And then the second part of it was, oh my goodness, I'm happy for him. I hope he
Mhm.
finds peace and stability.
Mhm. Mhm.
And the story ends like a lot of stories end with people who win the lottery suddenly.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, he moved away.
Mhm.
I think he got into money problems.
Mhm.
He had health problems. And we got a phone call from a detective about 4 years later, and he had died of natural causes.
Mm.
So that was the story of
Yeah.
the biological parent. So one relationship is just beginning with a mom,
Mhm.
and one is in spirit. And I think they
Mhm.
actually have a nice little relationship, however you want to understand that. But my son believes that he can communicate and does seem to communicate with his dad through their hearts and their connection.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that. And that's a great segue to me asking you about your podcast and what you do outside of fostering. I'm interested in the connection there, and uh, if there was a connection between that and fostering for you, fostering to adopt. So tell the listeners what your podcast is and just give us a little bit of background info about that.
Fantastic, thank you. Let's see if we can segue this because it feels like two different worlds, but it's not at all. So, my podcast is called The Good Energy Healing Show, and my book that I published in 2021, it's distributed through Simon and Schuster, is called The Power of Energy Medicine. I'm an energy healer, and by being an energy healer, I've gotten really good at like communicating with energy. And one of the ways that we communicate with energy and the language of energy is intuition. And I believe we're all very intuitive. I happen to be from a lineage of doctors and nurses, and my grandmother was a doctor, and I never had any interest or maybe academic abilities to go on to medical school. But I did find myself in my late 20s and early 30s having what might be like a gift of being
Mhm.
able to read people's energy fields the way I think a lot of healthcare providers do.
Mm.
It's compassion.
Mhm.
I know some people do it more in the spiritual development realm, but I like to work in healthcare. So doctors, nurses, and surgeons send people to me when they're kind of mystified. It all comes back to the body is always communicating and the body is always healing. And our whole life, I believe, is a healing journey. Like you can't miss it. You can't miss the healing journey.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Um, and so to put this in a nutshell, first of all, I followed my intuition to get to the yes. The
Mhm.
intuition felt a heck of a lot like a biological pull to be a parent. And I don't mean to become a biological parent, but it felt like
Mhm.
it was a full cellular pull. Like, I'm not going to rest until I find this child.
Mm.
And when
Mhm.
I did find the child, we met in a playground behind the elementary school, with the sedan, the red sedan, and the social worker like watching on. I remember my whole nervous system just calmed down, which was the equivalent
Mm.
of a intuitive yes. We all know what an intuitive yes feels like.
Mm.
And
I'm
the
not
and
sure everyone does, to be honest. I'm not
um
sure they do. Can you just tell us that real I mean, you just did. But
yeah.
so for you, do you think it's the same for everyone? For you, it's that your whole nervous system relaxes. Do you think that's the same universally?
Well, it feels like it definitely feels like I like to describe intuition feels like your version of like aha, like
Mhm.
aha. And it feels like the energy of like aha, yes. And it also feels like a remembering, but it's not a thought. So
Mm.
it's like you're remembering something that hasn't happened yet. And it's like,
Mhm.
oh, that feeling where like, oh, I remember where I put my keys, or I remember where my favorite hat is, or I remember I left my sweater at my friend's house and now it's cold. I'm going to go over. I remember. So imagine it's not a material thing and it's this energy of remembering. And that's how
Mm.
homegrown and in the body it feels. So,
Mhm.
but the language that I use for intuition is that it always feels like an aha. It feels like a
Mhm.
lovely aha.
Okay.
If you feel like a fear or a rejection or a tightening up of your body, like an angst, that could be
Mhm.
instinct, which is great. Love instinct. We're here because our ancestors had good instincts and we have good instincts.
Mhm.
But look for the gentleness and the
Mhm.
sweetness,
Mhm.
and that's where you'll start to feel the intuition. And
Mhm.
I was the other when I first got custody of our son. I was very angsty. I got really tight, and by
Mhm.
learning how to do this differently,
Mhm.
I became a better practitioner as well, much
Mhm.
better, a
Mhm.
better citizen, a better practitioner, and definitely a better helper to the people who needed help from me.
Mhm. Mhm.
Does that make sense at all?
Yeah, no, it absolutely does. I think that it's a thing. It was a big, huge part of my journey, and I think that sometimes people either they discount it or they're just not aware that it's a tool that you can use um, to be in alignment with what is like your highest good or something. I don't know how
Yeah.
else to put it. Like, it's not necessarily just because you want this thing. It's like, is this thing like, okay, I'm feeling like a want or a desire. Is this in alignment with like my highest expression, the highest expression of all involved?
Right.
And and so I think relating it to the foster to adopt journey is that was really my guiding thought the whole time was like, please let the child that's meant to be in our forever family like be delivered to us.
Yes.
You know, I believe that I felt through my intuition, like you're talking about, that there was a child out there that belonged in our family, that was meant to be in our family. And I got confirmation of that in certain ways that I won't go into right now. But yeah, I think it's that. And then it was like throughout the whole journey, it was like, I'm wishing for the best for this child's journey, and what that means. If that means being with us, if that means being reunified, I just want the highest and best for everybody involved. And that's what I had to hold on to, and it kind of, there were signs along the way that made it feel like I think I feel like we're on the right path. But it's interesting how oftentimes your emotions or your fears can come in and sort of cloud that. And how do you know the difference between this is just my mental monkey mind going crazy, and whoa, this is not in alignment? I'm going to throw that to you. How do you know?
Um, there's a rule of 3,
Okay.
meaning that you'll get the message, but you'll get it 2 more times, because
Oh.
you're going to have your monkey mind, you'll have your fear, you'll also have outside people saying things that will throw you off.
Mm-hmm.
And the synchronicities and intuition persist. And if you look back at your journey, you'll and any time that you followed your intuition, you'll see that you had more than one clue. And so if you want to be proactive about it, you just want to say, okay, I'm noticing that this sounds too good to be true, or my fear
Mm-hmm.
is kicking in, because can I really do this? And then just look for evidence of 1, 2, 3. Stay curious about it, and you'll see another evidence, and it could happen quickly, but just keep track. And then you're in communication with this spiritual wisdom that
Mm-hmm.
surrounds all of us.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard you talk about the ancestors, and
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, I mean, like, and if we're in this place where, like, this seems really far out, and like, well, the life, kids, that's as far out as it gets. People, we can't even wrap our head around it.
Yeah.
Birth, adoption,
Right.
um, connection, coincidences, and how we can love our way through all of this is a noble a noble thing to be curious about. It is the reason that we remain curious. It's just like, how are we going to love our way through this life? And if there's
Mm-hmm.
anything to be intuitive about, it would be, um, who and how am I going to love in this world? And that's,
Mm.
do you know, I mentioned this in the TEDx talk. Did you know that the etymology of foster is to foster means to encourage, to nourish, and to support?
Mm.
Like, that applies to life.
Yes. Yes.
And how lucky are we that we get to actually foster a child who comes to us through fostering?
Yeah.
Like, it's not subtle, this calling. So as I say, the rule of 3, it will be at least 3, but give yourself more than just one shot to get it right. Like, you'll
Mm-hmm.
you'll you'll notice that the name will be something special, as you tell that
Mm-hmm.
beautiful story. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
that's just
Yeah.
so powerful. And
Yeah.
then, in my case, I'm pretty sure I'm related to the child. Like, I'm finding out through historical documents that, like, we have the same great 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 aunt or something. Like,
What is that?
yeah,
Wow. Oh my
yeah,
God. That's nuts
yeah,
too.
yeah, yeah. And I have friends, of course, because I'm in the business. I have friends who are psychic and channel, and way before I even knew I was going to adopt. One of my friends said to me, she was in my house, she said, I can feel that there's a child, and she named his
Mm-hmm.
name, which is William, because I say his name on the TEDx as public as it
Mm.
gets.
Mm-hmm.
She said, I feel there's a William around. There's a William around. And I thought, I was like, listen, I don't believe in ghosts. Don't tell me that there's some ghost that lives in my house. That's how innocent I was. That's how I did not impose any meaning to it.
Mhm.
And then 2 years later, I sit up in the middle of the night because my child goes by, on all paperwork, he goes by Billy.
Okay.
And he's coming to our house. And I think maybe it was one of his first or second nights there. I sat up in the middle of the night and I was like, oh my gosh, that's the William. That's the William.
I
So,
love
so,
it.
enjoy the ride because it's beautiful and it's so challenging, but we're meant to do hard things when it comes to loving children. We are. We are.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful words to end with. Um, Give us again the name of your podcast and where people can find you and listen to you and read your book and all that good stuff and your TEDx talk.
I really want to give everybody the name of the TEDx talk because
Yes,
of your
please do.
because of your audience. My podcast, you'll find me. It's Hilary Crowley, Good Energy Healing. But what needs to be heard
Mhm.
is the TEDx talk that they titled. They listened to my whole talk and they gave a very provocative title, which is "Your Fairy Tales Are Hurting Our Foster Children." The unexpected journey of a foster mom.
Mhm.
And it turns out that the TEDx audience in general is not as driven through the social work and the children's welfare community. And so anybody who's listening, you'd be doing a great service to the algorithm that needs to get a lot louder out there, which
Mhm.
is to raise the awareness for children. And that one of the big points that I make in the TEDx talk is that um, the children, when they're coming through 8, 9, and 10 years old, they haven't found a home yet. So if anybody is listening to this, or you want to share this with any of your friends who are listening to this, just know that there's a beautiful, beautiful journey to be taken. Um, if you're thinking of adopting a child, an older child, and
Mhm.
by older I mean 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and
Mhm.
the teenagers, because
Mhm.
there's so much to learn and so much beauty. I don't do a heavy pitch for that. I just tell a story, and that's on TEDx Hilary Crowley. You'll find me under the foster community, and I'm at hilarycrowley.com. And
Yeah.
I can't thank you enough for being like my support group and listening to this podcast. And I'm glad to contribute to all the sharing that you're doing out there for us.
Oh, well, I am so happy to have you. I think you've really given us some great things to take away today. It's wonderful to be with you, and I hope you'll stay in touch and maybe come on the show again sometime.
I'd be honored. Thank you so much.
Amazing. Thank you.